All right, we're live on the Doug Saravo Show. It's your typical Monday night podcast. As always, we have Andrew Brem joining us, and today we have a special guest, Marc Weiss. He's part of Mad Radio. Mark, how are you today?
Doing great, guys. How's it going?
Pretty good. Thanks for joining us. So we have a lot to get to today, but we're going to start things off with the 2021 Major League Baseball season. Since this is a local show in the metropolitan area, we're going to start with the New York Yankees and the New York Mets, and if the Dodgers will repeat. So, Mark, let's start with you. What's the biggest test for the Mets this season?
Well, Mets are coming off a productive offseason, added themselves an all-world shortstop, and also they added new ownership, which means deep pockets and possibly a chance if they're actually contending to take on some salary and actually, go for it instead of what they've done in the past, which is, according to the Wilpons, what they used to say was, we're looking to play meaningful games in September. I think Stevie Cohen wants to win championships and get into playoffs in October. Meaningful games are meaningless for him. So lots going on, and the rotation is going to be interesting.
All right, so Andrew, what does this Mets team have to do if they want to be that contender that Steve Cohen talks about?
They got to play it all out. They got they got to win every game, and they just got to work hard every single day.
All right, so who is this key factor for the Mets? Obviously, you could say Jacob DeGrom, but will it be one of the new guys like Lindor, Carrasco? Mark, I'll start with you.
It's the new guys because in the world of sports we always talk about the chalk. That's the given. That's the favorite. And Jacob DeGrom is expected to go out there, throw, start about 30 games, maybe a little more, maybe a little less in that realm, 28 to 32 games. And he's expected to, have an ERA of about two, sub two, or a little over two. And hopefully the Mets can score some darn runs for this guy because he's done that for the last 3 years. And, you look at his one-loss record and say, how in the world this guy don't have wins? But he's the scratch. He's the chalk. The real thing is going to be Lindor. He's in a contract year. And, he told the Mets it's got to be a certain amount at a certain time or he's going to break off negotiations and go free agent. And I don't think Steve Cohen can allow that to happen because it could create turmoil in the clubhouse. But also, you traded for him, and you got Carrasco as a throw-in, which is a great guy to have in the rotation. He's your number three guy. So, I mean, the Mets look to be better than they were last year, without a doubt.
Oh
And
yeah, on paper for sure.
but you know what? The Mets have always looked good on paper and before the season starts, and then like most paper, it gets recycled. So I don't go by that. I just think that the Mets look like they're the same team they were 2 years ago, which I believe won 86 games. I think they can eke out four more. And the question to you guys is, does 90 wins get a wild card spot?
It's very
Yes.
tough because now you have a team like the Padres that Bill, and it's not going to be an 18 playoff this year. You're going to have the typical five teams, three
Yep.
division winners and two wild card teams. So it's going to be tough, especially when you have the Atlanta Braves. You still have the Nationals. Phillies are up in the air. Marlins had a fluke year last year, so I think it's going to
Oh
be
yeah.
interesting to see where the Mets go this year with this young new core, basically. Andrew, where do you stand on that?
Uh, I think it's going to be a crazy season, and I think we're going to see the typical 30 game playoff. Was it
I'm
30?
I'm confused.
Yeah.
30-game playoff.
I'm sorry. I just the usual playoff. My bad.
Oh, so the five teams. So you'd think
Yeah.
it's gonna be crazy going down the stretch when you have all these teams.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right,
And the
so
Mets
let's
are
go.
And
playing for a wild card.
Yeah, they're gonna have to fight for a wild card too.
Yeah, and that means that they're probably looking down the gun of either San Diego or LA if San Diego breaks LA's stretch of eight straight Western Division championships. But the team in the wild card coming out of the West is probably going to be the second best team in the league. A
I
lot
would
of
Oh,
say
for
coaching.
the
sure.
Dodgers. The Dodgers. It would have to be.
As the wild card, as the second best team in the league.
Well, they're going to be the best
Yeah.
team in the league.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
Probably
don't think
the.
so.
Oh, you
Yeah.
don't think so now, do you?
Nah, I
Go
think
ahead.
Trevor Bauer is gonna bring a distraction to the Dodgers organization.
Yeah, because he's a knucklehead.
He is a knucklehead.
Yeah. And you know who doesn't tolerate knuckleheads? Murph.
Yeah, Phil Murphy. All right, so Mark, you're a Dodgers fan, so do you think Trevor Bauer won't be a distraction?
He's going home, and so that could be his distraction. For him to be distracted by being home could probably be a good thing because it might keep his rear end off of social media, where he seems to get himself into the most trouble. The problem with him is the fact that his big contract was based off of one magnificent half season. Because let's actually third of a season because they only played 2 months of ball last year, and that's how he parlayed his contract. Kudos to him. But for the Dodgers, he doesn't walk in with all that money as a number one starter. Like if he went to the Mets, he's the number one guy. Well, actually the number two guy because Jacob DeGrom's the number one guy. But for the Dodgers, he sits behind Clayton Kershaw, who by the way has had a very poor spring, and we'll get into that a little later if we want to. And Walker Buehler is the number two guy. And then you got David Price, who's a former Cy Young Award winner. So we got a staff of three Cy Young Award
Oh yeah,
winners.
that's right. Price is coming back this year after
Hiatus.
sitting out last year
Yep.
Why did he
Basically,
sit out last year?
because
COVID.
COVID.
Oh, okay.
Yep. He was took a COVID option out. So did
Yeah.
Mark Stroman of the Mets. So I mean, no judgment here, but you know what? Those guys didn't play for a whole year. Does it make them stronger because they sat out and they didn't put any wear and tear on their bodies, or did they forget the muscle memory? I don't know.
So
I
I want
don't
to
know.
get to the New York Yankees, and we all know they have the offense. They have Judge, they have Stanton, they have Sanchez. But how important is it for their pitching staff to play at this elite level to get to a world championship? Because all the talk the last few years was their pitching. They need another guy. They got Garrett Cole. Now they go out to get Corey Kluber. They they get all these pitchers, Jameson Taillon from Pittsburgh. So how important is it for the Yankees to have a great pitching staff this season, Mark?
Well, you know what? You mentioned it. The lineup is the lineup, and that's a lineup that's going to scare everybody from 1 to 9. It's the given. The key thing about the lineup isn't the talent; is are they going to stay healthy? Because Aaron Judge not healthy. You know, he had that one huge breakout season, and since then, from his rookie year, he's had injury problems. Stanton, since he's come on board over here, has had to fight the injury bug too. So those are two big keys, two cogs in the middle of the lineup. And if they're not there, it shakes everything out a lot different. You can't put all that pressure on DJ LeMahieu to be the whole offense, and be the linchpin for it, even though they're paying him to do that. So even though the offense on paper looks great, and if it's in the lineup, it will be fantastic. Health is the question there. But the pitching staff, you know what? 10 or 15, maybe 20 years ago, I'd be worried about this pitching staff. But I'm not worried about it anymore because how many pitchers go more than 5 or 6 innings anyway? If you can get a 6-3 or a 5-2 out of your starter and hand it off to the Yankees bullpen, you're going to take your chances and win a lot more games than you're going to lose. And they're the odds-on favorite to win this division.
Oh yeah, for sure, and especially when you have a team like the Tampa Bay Rays who lost Blake Snell to the Padres, thanks Kevin Cash. We also
Terrible.
lost Charlie Morton,
Terrible.
so
Terrible.
it's definitely going to be interesting.
It's terrible because when you see a team that 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 loses in the series, 4 games to 2, and a few of those games could have gone either way, you would think that they'd be stocking up to go back to the series this year. Instead, they trade their number one starter. They trade a guy who's gutsy in the postseason and has a great postseason record, especially when he was with Houston. That doesn't bode well for me if I'm a Rays fan. And I understand that they don't draw flies in that ballpark because it's in the middle of no place and people don't go to it. I've traveled from Orlando to Tampa to go see a game, and it was an hour 45. Even coming from Tampa to go to the St. Pete, part where the ballpark is, it takes a while to get there. So I get all those woes. The key thing is it going to hang over their head this year? The whole thing about going to Montreal and doing that split season thing? Because I just think that's the big thing that the Rays are fighting. It's like they've already conceded the playoffs in the division with those trades.
Yeah, but we've been known to like trade away our top guys and have a young core and build up. But when you're in a division with the New York Yankees, the Red
Right.
Sox, I don't think will contend. Toronto Blue Jays, I think the Yankees are going to run away with this division.
Well, you know what? You'll see how it starts out. If let's say in the first month the Yankees jump out to like a 7 or 8 game lead if they get on fire in this division, no one's going to catch them. The only thing that can catch them is health. But if they jump out to a quick lead, the other teams are going to fold like a house of cards. The Red Sox, they've done nothing to tell me they've improved, especially on the pitching front. And last year their pitching was abysmal. And the Blue Jays, yeah, I mean, they're a little bit of improvement, no question about it. Tampa took a huge step back. You don't lose 2/5 of your starting rotation. And a guy who won a Cy Young 2 years ago, and a guy who maybe if they didn't take him out in Game 6, maybe they go to a Game 7. That's
They
a
would
lot
have
to
won
lose.
that World Series.
Well, you know what? Would have, should have, could have. These guys won.
Yeah, but Game 6, think about it. Snell was riding through. They would
Right?
have won Game 6. And then you have
But
Morton on the mound, you would have won Game 7.
but you know what? That's why they play the games because we don't know that. But one thing we know for sure is Cash made a huge mistake taking that guy out. I would have let him hold the ball until he looked like he was losing it. But you know what? They made a big mistake. The Dodgers capitalized. It was their time. They paid their dues over the course of the last 7 seasons. A lot of calamity in the postseason, and finally Clayton Kershaw redeemed himself in the World Series.
Yes, he did, and I'm happy for Clayton especially. He's one guy that you think about year in year out. Kershaw, this he chokes in the postseason. He can't win a world championship. So with him winning a World Series now, we all know he's a Hall of Famer. But how important is that for his legacy?
Legacy, it's always important. I mean, he for the last 3 or 4 or 5 years, he wasn't pitching to make the Hall of Fame. He'd already punched his ticket. You get 3 Cy Young awards. How many guys who won 3 Cy Young awards aren't in Cooperstown? Get the answer. The answer to that question is zero. So he had already punched his ticket, but the key thing is he was shooting for the legacy. Now he knows that he's never going to be known as the greatest pitcher in the history of the LA franchise because we all know who that belongs to, and you can't fight that one because that guy had ungodly numbers. So and his postseasons, that's the difference. The difference is he had a postseason resume that's immaculate. And I mean, I guess a 0.75 ERA in 4 World Series is pretty good. And Clayton had that monkey on his back. But to be fair, a lot of times Clayton was leading games late in the game, 7th inning, 8th inning, when he should have been taken out. But whoever was managing the Dodgers had no confidence in the pen, and they left him in too long. And that did him in, and that started building up that whole thing. And you know how things go with momentum. Once you start having negative momentum, you're waiting for it to fall. You're waiting for the shoe to drop. And that's what happened to him. But his legacy is solid. Those regular seasons are great. I mean, look at what he's done in a hitter's era. I mean, I think it speaks for itself. And he's only
So
33.
yeah, he's still basically in his prime. So before we get to Andrew, you brought up legacy. So Mark, I have a question. A lot of people say DeGrom isn't a Hall of Famer because he started late in his career. I think 24, 25. Now he's hitting 100. So let's say he wins a world championship with the Mets. He wins another Cy Young. Do you think that DeGrom could be in the conversation for the Hall of Fame?
He's going to be in the conversation no matter what. I mean, that's for sure. He's definitely going to be in the conversation. The question is, what is going to be the voting criteria? Because I have a feeling with the way the game is played today, you've got to throw out what used to be the locks. Like it used to be 300 wins was a lock. You had to win 300 games. No one's going to win 300. I think 215 is the new 300 because guys don't pitch as many innings, so the bullpen can blow games for them. They also have 5-man rotations and sometimes even 6-man rotations, so you're not going to even get the starts that guys used to. But I will throw out a name for you of someone who didn't get started until very late as well. A guy named Warren Spahn. He didn't get started until his mid to late 20s. Now, of course, it wasn't because he had Tommy John surgery and he was in the minors as a shortstop that happened. It's because of this little thing called World War II that put him back, until he was in his mid 20s. But nobody won more games after 40 than him, and that's because he was mature. He learned how to pitch as an older guy and not as a younger guy. And you know what? I think DeGrom has that chance to be that guy. And you can't hold it against him because the Mets don't score runs for him. What more do you want for the guy? He's done everything you could ask for since he came up. When he first came up in that first half season, no one expected anything from him because he wasn't even a top prospect as a pitcher. But he fooled everyone, didn't
Yeah, now he's hitting 100. So
he?
Andrew,
If they scored runs for him, he'd be about 130 right now.
yeah, he could be. So Andrew, you and I talk a lot about offense when it comes to baseball. So would you say the Dodgers have the best chance to repeat because of the offense they have? Or do you think that when opponents strike them out? No, my question is this, Andrew. Do you need a Dodgers offense to be consistent in order for them to repeat?
I definitely say I would definitely agree with that statement for the fact that we've seen the Dodgers make it to many playoffs, and they were very close to winning a couple World Series, and they just won the last one.
Yeah, and they went to two. They went to two. They went two in a row.
And they
They
got cheated.
lost. Yeah, they kind of lost that. That one was kind of rigged against them.
Yeah, bang the drum slowly.
Yeah. Well, they also Kershaw pitched game one. They won that game. Verlander. That game could have easily been over in 5 games if you think about that World Series. 2018 Red Sox was just the Red Sox were just on a roll, and then
And they cheated.
they cheated, and then
Alex Cora.
2020 when they won the World Series. I hate talking about it. They were trailing 3-1 versus the Braves, and they basically found their offense and they won those games against the Braves, and then they won against the Rays. So, Mark, how important is it for your offense to stay healthy?
And by they said 21.
What about
Well,
21?
well, let's talk about Dodger
You said
offense. The biggest problem
2021.
the Dodger
You
offense
meant
had last
2020.
year. Well,
No, this year
we're
we're
getting
talking
the echo
about
again?
Andrew. Yeah, we hear the echo, Andrew.
So the biggest problem that the Dodgers offense had was the fact that they relied almost solely on the long ball. And when you're hitting the bomb, it's great. When you're, like you said before, striking out, not so good. But that's epidemic in this whole game now. It seems like no one cares one bit about getting quality at bats. Like Bellinger, the year he won the MVP. How many times when he got a 2-strike count, he shortened up his stroke and put the ball in play? Last year, he said, I'm the MVP. I'm swinging for fences. But I think that got fixed in the postseason, and that's fine. They might be missing some people, too. Like, for example, most people don't care a heck of a lot about Jock Peterson or, Kike Hernandez because they look at those two guys and say, yeah, one guy hit under 200, and the other guy was just a bit role player. But the key thing is Kike played every position on the field, and he was as clutch as they come. And for some reason, I don't know what it is, but Jock Peterson, for 6 months in the regular season, this is him. The playoffs come, and man, that guy's a friggin' threat. So they're gonna have to replace that. I think Will Smith steps up this year. Third year's the charm for that guy. He's only getting better and better as a guy behind the dish, and he's a 289, 290 hitter. Mookie Betts is all world. You can't say enough about that guy. I think he earned his stripes by coming over. A single great trade. So I say the Dodgers offense is going to be there. The starting pitching is going to be there. The real question for this team is Kenley Jansen returning to becoming an elite closer, or are they going to find a way to go to bullpen through committee or make a trade? That's the real Achilles heel of this team.
And if you're looking at baseballreference.com, Cody is projected to hit 32 home runs, 86 RBI. So, Mark, would you say that is correct, or do you think that's considered like a down year for him since he hit 47 home runs in 2019?
Dougie, what they predict his BA and his OBP to be? Just off the top of your head, if you don't have it, that's okay.
270 is the batting average, and
Okay.
366.
All right, those numbers I can totally agree with. I can see those happening. Even the 32 home runs, I don't see that as being terrible, to be honest. The key thing to me is when the strikeouts go down. Is he going to be, at about the 150 mark on the strikeouts? I'll live with the 32 home runs. But if he's going to strike out close to 200 times, I got to see over 40. That's the way I look at it. But more importantly for this guy, does does he become that elite player? That's the key thing because he's just entering his prime. As far as age goes, does he step it up another level to be an elite player like he was 2 years ago? Shorten the stroke, put the ball in play with two strikes. When he does that, he's unbeatable. He's got great launch angle. I mean, he's got the pedigree. I mean, we all know the story about his dad. Former Yankee World Series champion. So, he was born to play this game. We know it. But as far as I'm concerned with Cody, it's interesting. You said 86 RBIs on 32 home runs. That means that they're predicting not a lot of base runners on in front of him, and that's a problem. Solo home runs don't win.
And if you look at their team, their pitching rotation is good. They have Kershaw, Bauer, Bueller, Price, May, Urias. Bullpen, you have Jansen, Terrain, Gurtaro, Gonzalez, Kelly, Ferguson, White, Canley, Knable, Smith, Barnes behind the plate. Then you have Muncy, Bellinger, Rios, Gavin Lux, Mookie Betts, Justin Turner, Matt Beattie, Corey Seager, Chris Taylor, Pollock, and yeah, that's their team
It's
opening day
closer.
roster.
It's closer is the issue. It's like if Kenley's going to be the closer, is he back to being Kenley? If Kenley's not going to be the closer, what's the committee that's going to handle? I mean, they lost Pedro Baez, who Dodger fans always lived and died with that guy, but the bottom line is he got the job done, and so you got to replace him too. So, but the Dodgers make trades; they'll pick up those
The
guys.
bullpen to me looks a little bit inconsistent.
Well, Kenley's not the same Kenley he was 2 or 3 years ago. A lot of people say it might be age. Some people say it's stubbornness because he doesn't want to embrace throwing different pitches. He wants to live with the cutter every time. But a lot of it could happen too is the fact that he's on that heart medicine because he's had heart trouble. And that medicine, he has said from time to time sometimes takes his edge off of his game. And, when you're on that mound, you need a little bit of an edge. Now, I'm not advocating stop taking your heart medicine to pitch better, but I'm just saying that could be a factor.
All right, so we're going to take a quick commercial break, and when we get back, we're going to discuss the National Hockey League. A lot of guys in this area could be in the move, including Kyle Palmieri. We'll be right back.
What about NBA?
All right, so we are back on the Doug Saravo show. So, Mark, Kyle Palmieri, it seems like there's no contract discussions with him. I saw a report. So, will he be on the move? Will I not see him at the Rock anymore?
Well, the first thing you got to say to yourself are the Devils buyers, sellers, or standing pat? And my answer is sellers. Do you agree with that one, first off?
I think we're going to sell a few guys like Vatten and Palmieri. I don't see us making a whole lot of moves. I think those are the two guys that could be on the move.
Well, I think Palmieri is odds-on favorite to be the first one out of Newark, and I think the reason is just like you stated. Where's the contract? This guy's going to want something. If they're not willing to give it to him, or they don't think they can satisfy his needs, they're going to flip him to a playoff team. He could conceivably wind up on the island.
Who would the Islanders give up though? I know Lee is hurt, so they're missing
Right.
depth there. They're missing a top six forward.
And that's why they'd make the move.
Would they give up like a second round pick, or because I would want something back in return, not
They could give up.
just
They could give up a second, more likely, probably a third or a fourth. The thing is that the Islanders need to make a move, or at least they think they do. I've seen them play since Lee went down, and they look fine. But you know what? Scoring's always been a challenge for that team. The defense has been there, and they play a good team. They have a good team system, and it starts from the top. You got Lou, and you got Barry. Those two guys, like championships and contending teams, follow those guys around for some reason, and it's because they're men with a plan. And Palmieri fits their plan. Last year, what was it? Last year, and coming down the stretch, they stole your captain from you, and he
yes,
fit in
Andy
nicely.
Green.
Yeah, he fit in nicely as they went to the Final Four. So I think that I think Lou knows the Devils organization, and I think they like Palmieri. I think the question is, what's too rich for them to give something up for? I think maybe a number three gets it done. Number two might be a stretch because I don't think they're desperate.
So we could look at someone like Taylor Hall. He had an MVP type season with the Devils. They went to the playoffs. You would think that we would be building around Taylor Hall and being a contender every single year. But I was talking to my friend yesterday, Jimmy Burns, and he said that Taylor Hall is a losing player. So do you see him staying in Buffalo, or do you see him going to a contender? But can he ruin a team's chemistry?
Those are a lot of key questions you just asked over there. And I'll start with: is he a losing player? Well, look at the numbers, and not his. I'm not talking about his stats. Look at the numbers of the teams that he was on, and look at the fact that it seems to be wrapped around his ego. Didn't have a lot of success in Edmonton. We know that to be true. He had that one season in the sun with the Devils, and he won an MVP. But that led to what, a first round knockout? I think it was a
Yeah,
sweep,
against
right?
Tampa Bay.
Yeah, I think it was a sweep in the first round. I mean, so not exactly a stellar resume. He went to Buffalo with a one and done contract this year, and he has done nothing in Buffalo that
Well, the
tells
whole
me if I'm a
team's done
contender, I
nothing.
want this guy. But yeah, Buffalo would love to unload him, and just because they just want to rebuild and they just want to get the party started, it, it's not a big cash strap on them at this point because he's a one and done. But when you take those 1 year contracts, man, you're looking to really blow it out with the numbers, so that you can get yourself a 3 or 4 year deal. And this guy's gonna have to take another 1 year deal because he's not going to get the money he thinks he is. His numbers have been declining since that MVP season.
So do you think maybe why teams didn't go after him in free agency is because of what my friend brought up, or do you think it's more of a risk than anything?
I think it's a combination of exactly what your friend brought up. I think your friend's spot on, and I think it's a huge risk. I think if he's the Taylor Hall he was 3 years ago, and he comes in and he's going to score 40 plus goals, over 100 points, and make other people better around him, then you put up with the nonsense that comes along with it. But if he's going to be a guy who can't even score 5 goals up in Buffalo, well, and he's a malcontent, and I'm sure he's done nothing but get under Jack Eichel's skin as well. You know, who wants that? I think if he was a hot commodity, somebody would have got him. I've heard the Islanders, they threw the Islanders name out in the mix, and Islander fans like, no, keep that guy away from us. Like, they want goals, but the only way they're going to get goals from Taylor Hall is if they get the version that was it the 2018 version of Taylor Hall. I don't think that guy exists anymore.
Because if you look at his numbers since he got into the league, he's had one season over 75 points. That was 13-14. He had 80 with Edmonton, and 17-18, 93 with New Jersey. Almost broke Patrick Elias's points record for the season. So he's not really, for a number one pick, he doesn't average those number one pick points, those goals, those assists. I think teams don't want him.
I think somebody might want to take a flyer on him, so to speak, and it could be the Flyers. Because if you need offense, you might want to roll the dice and say, hey, can we squeeze a month or two out of this guy in a playoff run out of him, and then let him go to free agency and do what he wants to do there, and there's no long-term commitment. That's how it could happen. But I think people just don't want to see him in the locker room, and I think they don't think he's a guy who's going to score those kind of points. And if he's not putting points on the board, he's not bringing any intangibles. There's no intangibles that come with that guy. Everything that you see on the back of his hockey card is what he brings. There's not an intangible you can read about. Sorry to sound down on the guy, but
I mean, I'm kind of like happy that we didn't extend him to what he wanted. He
yeah,
wanted like a 6 year, I think, like $12 million 12 million a year contract. So if we got him, we would be in a hole right now, and we wouldn't be able to have the Sharon Govic's. We wouldn't be able to have the Maltsev. Um, we have a lot of great young talent that he shares. We extended him, so this is a whole we would be in a mess. Let's just say if we extended Taylor Hall after that MVP type season.
Oh yeah.
Luckily, we were able to trade him and get a guy like Kevin Ball. So we shall see how he performs within the next few years. So hopefully he comes up. We'll let you go after this, but let's get to you're a Ranger fan, right? Yeah, I have a lot of friends that are Ranger fans. So where do you see the Rangers going? Because there was a whole stretch where a lot of people on social media were complaining. This team ain't good. So where do you see them going? Do they buy and go all in, or do they maybe try and add in a draft pick or add in like someone, let's say a Kyle Palmieri and give it a test? I mean, we made a trade with the Rangers before, so would you guys go after a Kyle Palmieri or maybe a defenseman?
No, they're not. They're not. I don't think they're making a move for a Kyle Palmieri. I think one of my co-broadcasters, my compadres, Coach Jay, has been harping on this for the last week, and he's dead on right, which is the Rangers need to get tougher. And the biggest problem with that is the one guy who had any ounce of toughness, which was Brendan Lemieux. They jettisoned the guy a few days ago and sent him packing for a 3 and a 5. So I don't know what that's all about. I just Ranger fans are fickle. It is what it is. I think it's because a boatload of Ranger fans come from the school of they're also Yankee fans, and so with the Yankees they expect a lot, and they expect a lot from the Rangers. I mean, let's be honest here: one cup in 75 years is not a dynasty. So you
No.
know, we're always in some sort of rebuild or something like that. The key thing is, I love the nucleus. I think you stay the course. Was that three cup rings? Is that what you're showing up? Your 3 cup rings?
What?
We just
this
showing
is
your
this is 2000.
okay. You showing off your rings? Okay, well, kudos to that. It might be a long. I remember when Islander fans were rubbing in to us chanting 1940, and what have they done since 1983? So, you know,
Yeah.
it's you got to be careful where you throw those rocks from. I always tell everybody. But getting back to the Broadway Blue shirts, you know what? The fans are fickle. I mean, 3 weeks ago, everybody wanted to string up Mika Zibanejad and put him on a horse and drag him out of town, like in one of those old Wild West movies. And now, he had those 2 hat-trick games. He looks like he's overcome COVID finally, and he's back in stride now. All of a sudden, oh, that guy's great. I would have kept him. I wasn't going to trade him. Well, let me show you a screenshot of your posts, because that's not the stuff that I've been hearing from Ranger fans and stuff like that out there. But now they've changed their tune on that. The bottom line is it's a young team. They've got a few veterans, but it's a young team. We're in the middle of a rebuild, and I don't think anybody in their wildest dreams expected this team to make the playoffs. Matter of fact, I predicted at the beginning of the year, I said they were going to fight tooth and nail for a number 4, but I don't think they're going to get it. I actually predicted the Islanders for first place, Flyers second, Caps third, and Boston fourth. So right now, it looks like I might be one off on those, but that's because the Flyers just seem to be crapping the bed because they just haven't put it together. But Ranger fans need to realize that if this team is not a buying team. This team might not even be a selling team at this point right now. They just might be standing pat and be happy with what they've got. I mean, there's some guys that like Holden. How do you like to get rid of him? But who wants that? You always want to get rid of stuff that other people don't want. It's like a garage sale. You put stuff out there on the lawn, and at the end of the day, you have 90% of it coming back because nobody really wanted your trash. And I think that's the problem with guys like that. They're not going to move it. I wouldn't have traded Lemieux. I know he didn't put up points or do what they expected, but he exhumed toughness, and that's what they needed. They needed to be a tougher team, and they didn't have toughness with him. And now without him, they're just going to get pushed around. You can see it. You can see it happening. But this is never was supposed to be their year. The contention was supposed to start next year. I think the interesting thing is the fact that the team played so well under the interim staff. That's a little controversy in itself.
It
Maybe David
is.
Quinn's a little bit on the hot seat. I don't know.
All right, so
Maybe
final
Knobloch
question.
is the guy who's going to move in there.
Maybe it could be. Someone said that at a bar was that a lot of players hate Quinn, so maybe
It
Knobloch could
makes
be the
sense though
guy.
because think about it. Why was Quinn brought in here? Number one reason, because he was a college coach. He was good at working with young players. They thought he was going to cultivate and develop the talent. But the problem with this team is, I've heard things about, Kako's playing better of late. The thing is, you had a number one and a number two in the last 2 years, and neither one of those guys looks to be an impact player in their first season and even their second season. And the problem with that is, nobody wants to hear. If those guys were drafted 7th or 8th, everyone's happy. But when you go 1 and 1A, like Kako was the 1A last year, you're expecting a lot more than that. And Lafreniere, you're expecting a lot more than that. I mean, I know that not everyone is going to get a Mario Lemieux or Sid, or an Obi with their first pick, but the Rangers never do. And so they were hoping that was going to happen. And Quinn's the guy who's supposed to be here to develop the talent. And if those guys aren't impact players, does that fall on his shoulders? I think it does. And if the veteran players don't really want to hear it from a college coach, they want somebody who's played in the league. It's just the way it is. Or somebody who maybe didn't play in the league but had some rings. So they have some criteria, and Quinn brings none of that.
All right, so I just want to get to this quick because you mentioned toughness. I know the money situation is tough, so would you guys go after like a David Backus, a Brendan Dubinsky, even Alex Goligoski?
For toughness, I mean, I think they've got to look at every avenue and go for it. It's not like Calgary's trading you Lukic, So I mean, you got to figure it out. And this is a different league than it was 10, 15 years ago, where you could have a fourth line player whose job was just to go out there and knock the crap out of someone. Now if you're going to be able to fight, you also have to be able to play. The game has changed so much that you can't just have roster spots for guys who drop the gloves. So that's something the Rangers have to figure out. Maybe they have to cultivate it in the minor leagues. I don't know what it is right now, but the team lacks the toughness, and it looks like they don't have the backup goaltender that they thought they had as well. Going into the season, they thought Georgiev was the backup guy, and when Shesterkin went down, he did nothing. And they had to bring in Kincaid, that's basically no knock on the guy. He's doing what he needs to do being a backup goalie, but he's a recycle guy. So I think the Rangers just have to figure out what they want to do. Don't go after Jack Eichel because that guy's disgruntled. He's got 5 years with $10 million per. I don't think the Rangers have the money. They'd have to part with too much. That was the big hot trade 4 weeks ago. Thankfully, not thankfully that Eichel got hurt, but thankfully once he got hurt, though, we don't hear about that anymore. He'll move on the offseason if he moves.
Yeah, talk about number 2 pick now going somewhere else. Oh, Buffalo.
Buffalo's done nothing. In the 6 years he's been there, they've done nothing to put a good team around him. I mean, throwing a 1-year contract to Taylor Hall and throwing him in there and saying, hey, now you got a running mate. They didn't build a team. Goaltending's been terrible. I mean, let's face it. When you win only 6 games in the season at this point, everything broke down. There's nothing you could point to and say, yeah, that's a bright spot on this franchise. They're an easy. Everyone circles the calendar when they play Buffalo for easy 2 wins, 2 points.
Unless you're the Devils, you'll end up finding a way to lose to them. Because they always give us a run for our money, but luckily we come out on top.
Who knows?
All right,
Who
Mark.
knows?
Yeah,
Well,
who knows? All right,
thanks,
Mark,
Dougie,
it's
for
been a
having me on
pleasure.
board.
Anytime. If only I could score against
Yeah.
James next time we play.
Well, if you weren't working tomorrow night, you'd get your opportunity to shoot on the kid brother.
Oh, I know. I can't wait. All right, thanks,
guys.
Mark. We appreciate
I
it.
don't speak to you guys. Enjoy your Easter.
All right, you too. Happy Easter and happy Passover.
Thank you, sir.
Thanks, Mark.
Bye.
Anytime. All right, so that was Marc Weiss. Andrew, we're going to take a quick commercial break, and we're going to discuss the Brooklyn Nets because they keep making moves, and they want to bring a world championship to the Barclays Center. We'll be right back. Where the Monroe Falcons are playing the St. Joseph of McCutcheon Falcons.
Past that game's history, we have a state's championship on our mind now.
The Ranch, the Buffalo.
It all works together very nicely.
Welcome to Falcons Insider.
Falcons Insider.
On today's episode... we're doing a lot of great work. You know, this is work that people said couldn't have been done
A
before.
lot of money doing something you love.
Re-elected team reporter.
Yeah, what a season that was for you. 54 points in 18 games.
But definitely, I mean, when I said that we're going to win GMCs, I think that's another one that I remember. Yeah.
Go down in history. You just said it with so much confidence. All right, so Andrew, I want you to talk to me about your Brooklyn Nets because they just added LaMarcus Aldridge, one of the key veterans in the league. So, are the Nets going to be unstoppable now?
If they already have added so many guys to the point that I lost count of how many guys they've added. If this guy they just added now doesn't make a change, I don't know what does at this point.
I know, right? They are building a
Yeah.
contender. You think it's going to be the
But at least they're
Lakers
doing
and the,
very, very well.
You think it's going to be the Lakers and the Nets in the NBA Finals?
Possibly,
'cause-
but I'm also thinking the Jazz.
Because the Lakers just added Drummond, but who knows what's going to happen with LeBron because he's still out with injury. Anthony Davis is hurt too, so it's going to be interesting to see what the Lakers do come postseason time. But the Jazz could be a threat.
They could. I mean, they played against the Nets the other night, and it was 118 to 88. So that's a huge, huge win.
Yeah, it was. I'm looking at a few of my tweets. A lot of people are saying the Nets are going to go to the NBA Finals. So they don't think the Sixers can match up against what they have.
Yeah, I think they're gonna win. They have to win this year.
They have to, because if you think about it, Durant and Kyrie have 2 years left on their contract. So if they don't win, it's going to be a failure of a building of a championship contender.
Yeah, exactly. And if you look here, the Hornets are actually doing really well, even after LaMelo Ball got injured.
So that might go back to our discussion we had a few weeks ago that the Hornets are a good team without LaMelo, and he probably made everyone better, and they're going to win championships. They're going to win championships in the future, hopefully, because of a team they're building. You know, if we look at it now, it's not just about LaMelo Ball. They have a good coaching system. They have a good system in place. So I think moving forward, the Hornets could be a team to look out for. And moving forward, I think the NBA hopefully will be exciting because we've seen it. A lot of teams, you see it's always the Warriors. It used to be the Heat.
It's always the Cavs.
The Cavs. Well, I'm a Cavs fan, so I don't complain about that.
Yeah.
I'm not going to complain that my
the Heat,
Cavs.
Yeah. The Heat's not doing too well, but at least they're doing good.
Yeah, they've improving because think about it. Their season ended in October last year.
Yeah, that's true.
It ended
and the
in
Hawks
October.
Are doing better.
Yeah, the Hawks improved a lot because if you remember at the start of the season, they were like one of the worst teams in the league. Now they fired their coach. They brought in Nate McKinnon. Now, if we look at the standings, and I'll pull it up right now, the Atlanta Hawks.
They're sixth.
They're in sixth place. They are currently 23-23, and I don't know if I could do like a day by day thing because I know on like MLB.com you could like do like a month ago see where their standings are. But yeah, they've been playing good basketball. They won 7 of their last 10 games, 11-9 home record. I mean, you can look at the standings.
Doing good. They've been.
You can look at the standings. You could see the Sixers. You could see the Nets. You could see the Bucks. Other than that, I just think on paper the Nets have a better team. But we're gonna see what happens come playoff time, because that's where it matters. Yeah, sure, you have these great teams on paper, but how are they going to perform come playoff time.
Right.
Yeah, the Jazz are good. You got the Phoenix Suns who are 31-14. You got the LA Clippers who are 31-15. The Lakers are 30-17. They haven't been playing their best basketball. But the thing for me is I'm going to look at the playing rounds. 7 versus 10, 8 versus 9. Spurs, Mavericks, Grizzlies, Warriors. Those are the current teams. And then you go to the Celtics, the Heat, the Pacers, and the Bulls. I think that's going to be a test, and that's going to be exciting to see. So, any thoughts on the playing
Yeah.
round, Andrew?
As in, like, the upcoming games?
No, the playing round, the 7 versus 10 when it comes, because it's not going to be 1 versus 8.
Yeah, I feel like it's going to be Miami Heat because since they have been making a lot of good plays this year, even though it's been a tough year for them. So I feel
Yeah.
like they're going to win it somehow in that division, 7-10.
So you think they'll come out of the 7 versus 10 spot? Okay. And then what about
Right,
the
yeah,
West?
I think that
Right now you got the Spurs, the
the
Mavericks,
West,
Grizzlies, Warriors.
the Warriors. I feel like the Warriors, even though they're last in that 7-10 row, I feel like the Warriors, since they always surprise everyone all the time.
Yeah. But they don't have Clay.
So, with
Steph's
Steph
been
Curry.
hurt.
Yeah, that's true.
I mean, the Rockets have been a disaster. Thunder.
Oh yeah.
I mean, I'm looking at my Cavs, and right now they're only 3 games out of that last playoff spot. So if there's a way we could get in, I'm going to be pretty happy because I think we could go on a run with our young talent.
Yeah, we could.
All right, Andrew, we're going to head to a quick commercial break. If you're just joining us, I'm Doug Serraro. We had Marc Weiss on alongside with Andrew Brem. We're going to have our final thoughts discussion. What are your predictions for Major League Baseball in 2021? We'll be right back. Thank you for joining us, as always.
I'm going to work with Stratford Rec to see what can we do about it, because I can pitch in money to start with, because we need that. Look at that. It's sad. The pup is crying. We need to do something.
And when she gets elected, she will do a lot of great work for this town. Things that haven't been done before. She's highly respected, highly intelligent, and I'm looking forward to hearing on election day that she is your newest representative, but most importantly, your voice.
Okay. Thank you so much. Thank you.
We are back on the Doug Serravo Show. Alongside me, we have Andrew Brem, who looks half asleep. If you've been watching, he's basically zoned out from the beginning. So I want to go to Major League Baseball. I want to talk about predictions. And for me, we're going to do that last. But for Andrew, I want you to give me a World Series prediction and why.
Dodgers and Mets.
They're in the same league.
Yeah, but still, it could happen.
How? Let's hear this.
Could happen.
How? They're in the same league.
Yeah, all right. Yeah, all right, damn. All right, Dodgers and Houston.
So it's going to be a rematch of the 2017 World Series, Dodgers and Houston.
Yeah.
All right. Any reason why?
Well, Dodgers, since they've been playing really good baseball over the last few years, I feel like they're going to be going to the championship or the World Series this year, and especially since they won a World Series that was shortened last year because of Corona. So I feel that's what's going to happen.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
All
what I
right.
feel like is going to happen.
All right,
Houston,
so
I'm not really too sure about, but Dodgers, I definitely know.
all right, so I'm going to tweet that out. Andrew's prediction for the 2021 World Series is the Los Angeles Dodgers versus the Houston Astros. All right. For me, I am going with the New York Mets over the New York Yankees. And the reason why I say
Local
that,
teams, huh?
yeah, it's going to be a local World Series, Subway Series. And the reason why I say that is because I truly believe that the Mets and the Yankees have two of the best pitching rotations in the world. You look at these rotations on paper. You look at the lineup. Both teams have they have the best in my opinion. And I think when you stay healthy, when the Mets stay healthy, when the Yankees stay healthy, these teams are the best teams in baseball. There's no doubt about that. And if they could stay healthy, there's no reason why the Mets can't get past the Padres. There's no reason why the Mets can't get past the Dodgers, the Cardinals, because the Cardinals are going to come out of the NL Central with adding Nolan Arenado. There's no reason why that can't happen. And then if you look at the Yankees, I hate to say that. I hate to say this, but the Rays downgraded their rotation. I'm hoping their young guys step up like they do every year. Getting rid of Snell hurts. Losing Morton in free agency sucks. Two great pitchers in one offseason. You don't want to see that. But this is the Rays' way of building. We've seen it in the past. Blue Jays really didn't improve their pitching staff. Maybe Mass is going to improve. Who knows? But this is the World Series matchup I am going to see, and it's going to go viral. I'm going to tweet it out tonight. I'm going to post this on my Instagram account, my social media account. It's going to be a Met-Yankee World Series. And the Mets are going to come out on top. And the reason why I think the Mets come out on top is just because they are hungry. They want to be the better team in New York. They no longer want to be that little brother to the New York Yankees. They don't want to do that anymore. They've been at the bottom for years. It's always the Yankees. It's never the Mets. You know, the Mets had one great run in 2015, fell apart. They blew that World Series. Yes, they blew that World Series. They should have won Game 2. They should have won Game 1. They won Game 3. They should have won Game 4. They should have won Game 5. Mets could have won that World Series in 4 or 5 games. We know that. You know, we don't have to keep bringing up this Matt Harvey nonsense that happened a few years ago. You know, congrats to Harvey. He's the second pitcher for the Orioles rotation, so I'm happy for the guy. But that's what I'm talking about. The Mets have the best rotation in baseball when healthy. And if people don't believe me, you know, they could just keep on hating because it's going to be a Met-Yankee World Series. New York is going to be a party either way. And that's what I have to say on this World Series matchup. How do you feel about that, Angie? You think it's going to be the Mets and Yankees World Series?
We'll have to see what happens. The season hasn't started yet, and we haven't been there yet, so we'll have to see. But it'll be pretty cool if we see it because I haven't seen a local World Series in my entire life. Never seen one in my entire life where I see two local teams.
Well, how old were you in 2000?
The World Series.
How old were you in 2000?
Only one.
Yes, so you don't remember shit.
One.
Yeah, so you don't remember it at one.
I was in my own world.
Yeah, you were in La La Land, the way you were tonight too. Come on, you know you were half asleep on this show.
Floating in space at one.
Yeah.
Yeah,
All
I
right,
was
so
like, this is me. Like, this is how I think of it. Hold on. This is how I think of it. This is me in a spacesuit floating around like, huh?
yeah. All right, so I just want to tweet this out, Andrew.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, did you? Oh, we have a
Okay.
developing story. The Mets' offer to Francisco Lindor is for approximately 10 years, $325 million. So the Mets offered Lindor. All right, let me send this out. My 2021 World Series prediction. Not production. Siri. Oh, wow, Siri. How did she get? Please send this out. Hold on. Let's restart that. My 2021 World Series prediction. It's going to be a New York World Series, but with the Mets coming out on top. It's going to be a Yankee World Series. No doubt in my mind. Now, that's if everything goes its way. Everybody stays healthy. Mets pitching is consistent. DeGrom gets run support. It's going to be interesting. It's going to be interesting. And we'll end on that note tonight, Andrew.
Yeah.
All right,
Yeah.
thanks for joining me, Andrew.
Yeah, you too, Doug. Have a good night.
All right, take care. I'll let you get some sleep.
Bye.
So I want to talk about Mike Trout and the Los Angeles Angels of Anaheim. I really do. This has, for the last few years, all the talk about is Mike Trout is the best player in baseball. And we know he is. But the problem is the Angels really they haven't done anything. The Angels haven't performed. The Albert Pujols contract, what did they really get out of it? No world championships, one playoff appearance. And I'm looking at this Angels team, and I think they could improve. I think they could make the playoffs based on who they have. But their pitching staff really worries me. You got Dylan Bundy, you got Andrew Heaney, you got Jose Quintana. That's an improvement, sure. You got Griffin Canning, you got Shohei Ohtani. He's going to come back, so hopefully he has a great year. You got Alex Cobb, and then their bullpen, Alex Claudio, Mike Mayers, Felix Pena, Jamie Barra, Drew Nigarea, Patrick Sandoval, Razio Iglesias as the closer, Ty Budry. Catcher, you have Max Stassi. They brought in Kurt Suzuki, so I like that move. First baseman, you got Albert, and you got Jared Walsh. Second base, you got David Fletcher. Third base, you have Anthony Rendon. Shortstop, you have Jose Iglesias. Left field, Justin Upton, Mike Trout, Jan Lagares, Dexter Fowler. So the Angels, they've improved their roster for sure. They improved their roster. But if they want to go on a run, they want to win a division, they want to win a World Series in Mike Trout's time, it has to start with this season. You need to see a great performance from Dexter Fowler. You need to see a great performance from Justin Upton. He has to get back to his elite level. I know he's getting up there in age, but he has to have a good year. You need to have another MVP season from Anthony Rendon. Jose Iglesias needs to be a great shortstop. They need offense, and they need their pitching to step up, because right now, on paper, this team is looking like it's going to win 82, 84 games. And I'm judging that based off what I'm seeing. I don't see anything happening from this Angels team, and I truly believe they are looking to make a postseason appearance. Luckily, Trout is still going to be an Angel within the next 10 years. He just signed that big contract. You got Rendon for another 6. So, we're going to have to see what happens this baseball season. This is just the beginning for Mike Trout, hopefully. Hopefully this is a start. You want to see the Angels make moves. Because if they don't, what's the point? What's the point if the Angels don't go anywhere? And we're going to end on that note. What's the point? Dougie, it's time to go. Thank you guys for watching us. Thank you guys for listening to us. We truly appreciate your support. But right now it's time to go, and we'll see you guys next time.
Growing up, I wanted to be in the NHL. I wanted to be just like my idol, Martin Brodeur. In life, sometimes you win some, but sometimes you will lose some. Being successful isn't about chasing a paycheck. Being successful is about chasing your passion and building a foundation to where you want to be. You only live once, so you might as well do what you love. Think big. Don't just settle. People are going to hate, doubt, and tell you that you can't. But if you put your mind to something, nothing is impossible. Think big.